Let's bring in Professor of History at Rice University and presidential historian Doug Brinkely. Also with us, columnist for the Washington Post, Dana Milbank. He is the author of the new book entitled Fools on the Hill: The Hooligans, Saboteurs, Conspiracy Theorists, and Dunces Who Burned Down the House.
We'll get to that in a minute. And I've got to say, I always go to presidential historians first. I'm a sucker for presidential historians. This is going to be the exception this morning, only because what we've been talking about for the first couple of hours on this show. And this is the mainstream media and the anti-Trumpsters trying to flatten this race out, like have a moral equivalence between, like it's 1996, like this is Clinton versus Dole. And what I'm about to say is not an exaggeration. You read columns in the Wall Street Journal, in the New York Times this weekend, argument is basically this. Well, yes, Donald Trump may have tried to overthrow a presidential election and started riots on January 6th that family members believe led to the death of 4 police officers. But Kamala Harris told a story about her childhood in a local Philadelphia interview before getting to a very detailed 3-part answer on what she would do for struggling Americans.
I mean, it wasn't the
Swear to God. I'm not exaggerating. Yeah. A Wall Street, a Pulitzer Prize winner in the Wall Street Journal, and a guy that I respect, whom I respect, and a guy I respect very much in the New York Times. This was their argument.
It's a zany world that we live in. And, you know, of course, when Biden was the nominee, it would be, yeah, the one guy tried to overturn a presidential election, but man, that other guy's pretty old. What I've tried to do in this book is put it into some perspective so you can actually look at the numbers of this Congress. It is on course right now, and it's almost over. I mean, we're just going to have the lame duck now, to be the least productive Congress since 1860, 165 years. So that says these are not normal times that we're living in. You know, there have been divided governments before. You know, you and I came to Washington around the time of the Republican Revolution. You guys were fighting like cats and dogs then, and you had triple the productivity that these guys have today. So we're, you know, going back to the time when the Union was dissolving to have an equivalent to what's going on today. So I think it's useful to keep that in perspective. That's what I tried to do in this book, just to sort of a compendium of the crazy, of all the zany things that happened over the last 2 years, and that could actually become reality if Trump and the Speaker Johnson are in power together.
Yeah, Jonathan Lemire, Dana's exactly right. When we got there, we were fighting like cats and dogs. Bill Clinton did not like us. We did not like Bill Clinton. And yet we balanced the budget 4 years in a row together. We passed welfare reform. We passed a lot of things that made a huge difference. The economy grew, 20 million jobs were created, and that was with 2 parties that were fighting nonstop. We still got things done. That just doesn't happen anymore.
No, it does not. It's been a remarkably ineffective session here. Look, there was, in President Biden's first 2 years, some bipartisan success. The infrastructure bill, top on the list. But that has completely stopped as we moved into basically this election cycle in early 2023 under the leadership of Speaker Johnson. Unproductive and, to use Dana's word, zany indeed. So, Professor Brinkely, let's get you in on the state of the race right now, because there are 2 things. The polls suggest a very close race. The trend lines do favor the vice president, but these leads are very narrow. We're basically talking about a margin of error race with 6 weeks to go. It's a toss-up. But part of that is because, to Joe's point, there has been an attempt to normalize, to flatten out, to sane wash what we're seeing from Donald Trump by the media. Yes, parts of it, certainly his allies. And for voters who really only pay attention in the last little bit, that's what they're seeing.
Yeah, and I'm sorry all Americans can't take a look at the heinous document of the Project 2025 that the Heritage Foundation gave birth to, and that's a blueprint for the future of the Republican Party in our country. If you really took time to read it, you would get so far away from Donald Trump, you wouldn't know what to do. I mean, other moments in American history, Warren Harding at his inaugural in 1921 tried to execute a similar plan, which is corporations take over, get rid of all regulators, get rid of civil servants. And what happened? Harding's administration got mired in scandal. And eventually, we remember Harding for the Teapot Dome scandal. Nixon tried it in '73. He was fairly progressive liberal his first term. Second term after he won, he got rid of all the cabinet, and he was going hard to do a similar kind of plan, and Reagan in '81 did. They all back off because it's nutty stuff if you took the time to read that project. But right now, we can almost all know that Harris is going to win the popular vote. We're all now looking at that electoral college again in those handful of states, like we did in 2000 and like we did in 2020 and 2016.
Yeah, there's conventional wisdom suggests that she might need to win by 3 or more points in the popular vote in order to hang on to the Electoral College. So, Dana, it looks like Congress is going to avoid a shutdown right before the election. And if that is indeed the case, that's a rare moment of sanity for the legislative body that you have deemed, with its very unsubtle title, Fools on the Hill. The hooligans, saboteurs, conspiracy theorists, and dunces who burned down the House. Tell us a little more about your new book.
Right. Well, I wouldn't exactly call it a victory. What's happening this week is they had a 6-week summer vacation. They came back and fiddled around for a couple of weeks, couldn't pass their own continuing resolution to keep the government open. Now we're going to be bailed out by the Democrats to keep the government open so they can go home for another 6 weeks and have the fight again in December. So, yeah, I've tried to compile all of the, sort of the zany things. You've heard little bits about it throughout the year, but when you put it all together, it's pretty overwhelming, whether talking about Lauren Boebert grilling people on public urination, her Beetlejuice groping moments, howling obscenities at Joe Biden on the House floor during the State of the Union, getting into fistfights within the Republican caucus in the House basement, looking into deep state conspiracy theories, that involve space aliens that was supposedly suppressed by Mussolini and the Vatican, all this truly zany stuff. But there's also a really serious undertone here. And Doug's right about Project 2025, but you don't even have to look at that. You can just look at what these guys have tried to do. And a majority of them voted to abolish the Department of Education, to restore the names of Confederate generals on military bases. Most of them have opposed funding for Ukraine. Most of them have signed on to a nationwide abortion ban. So that's the agenda right there. It's all sort of laughed off as a poison pill at this moment, but if you have a MAGA Republican Congress and a President Trump, suddenly this becomes reality.
The new book, Fools on the Hill, the hooligans, saboteurs, conspiracy theorists, and dunces who burned down the House, is on sale tomorrow. Washington Post columnist Dana Milbank, thank you very, very much.
And Doug Brinkely, just before we let you go, what's at stake with about 45 days left? What's at stake?
American democracy, nothing less. Donald Trump is a usurper of democracy. He's a wrecking ball. You've been talking today, rightfully reminding people of January 6th, but the hellscape he's developed of dividing our country, we have a chance to unite. Kamala Harris is doing an incredible job. Momentum's her way. And I think it's just getting some more young people engaged. And North Carolina is the state. I know everybody's waiting on Pennsylvania. North Carolina, to me, is really interesting that Harris has a chance of winning there. But the big moment is October 1. It's going to be the most important vice presidential debate, I think, in U.S. history when we put Waltz against Vance. That's coming our way. And it may be the last chance Trump has that somehow Vance can score points and get a little edge out of that.
And Doug, what do you say to people, and Bill Maher talked about this this weekend, that say you can't suggest that Donald Trump is a threat to American democracy?
That's violent rhetoric.
Or else that's violent rhetoric, as Dan Henninger basically blamed Democrats for trying to kill Donald Trump Of course, not talking about Donald Trump's violent rhetoric. But what would you say to those that say you can't even suggest that Donald Trump doing all that he did is a threat to democracy, or else you're engaging in political hate speech?
Well, it's nonsense. You know, I'm a practicing Catholic. When I see somebody like Donald Trump get shot in the ear, or what almost happened at Mar-a-Lago, you know, your prayers go off for him because you honor all humans. But if you're talking about the danger, the inherent danger of Donald Trump, he's radioactive. He wants to come in and gut government because it's rhetoric that sounds good. And you start trying to get rid of civil service, collapse the federal government, you are going to find a country in disarray. It's a larger problem that the federal government hasn't educated the public enough to know all the incredible things somebody who works for the Environmental Protection Agency does for clean water, what we do for clean air. We don't talk enough about, you know, flight safety. But when you start just willy-nilly saying you're going to wipe out a Department of Education, nobody even knows what that means. To try it and get successful, particularly with the Supreme Court, with this which Trump sees as a rubber stamp, and with the new prerogative the courts gave them of knowing, you know, presidents are above the law, we're walking into a doomsday scenario if Trump gets in. People better wake up, take the smelling salt, and you know, pay attention right now. These next days are going to be fast.
Professor of History at Rice University, Doug Brinkely, thank you so much.